Sunshine Week 2024 starts soon, which means that it's the perfect time to talk about government transparency and your right to know what's going on behind the scenes. So buckle up as we discuss the ins and outs of open government and explore how we might leverage it to restore trust in our institutions. This is The Layout. I'm James Quintero, a policy director here at the Texas Public Policy Foundation, and today I'm joined by a very special guest whose generosity, kindness, and compassion are absolutely legendary, especially if you're a kid from Houston like me. Mattress Mack, thank you so very much for being with us to celebrate Sunshine Week.
Hi, James. Glad to be on. Is it the name of your show is The Layout?
Yes, sir.
Well, getting government transparency is definitely not a layup.
I think that's well said. Now, Mac, just to start, I had the good fortune of working with you during the last legislative session to champion some open government measures. And I think our audience would certainly like to know, what is it that drew you into that process? Or was there a particular issue that prompted you to get involved?
Well, I think it was the massive voting irregularities in Harris County that happened during the last election. And I don't really care who won. Who won fair and square is great, but having all this hidden stuff just didn't sit well with me at all. So we went after the powers that be of the Harris County government, didn't get anywhere, and they continued to cloak themselves in secrecy. Last time I checked, I thought the government officials were supposed to work for the citizens, but of course, that's not the way it works in Harris County. All of us are the serfs who work for them up in their high castles. So I'm still after government transparency. These people need to understand who signs their paycheck. That would be the taxpayers, not the welfare recipients they give out the money to.
Well, and I think that's very well said, and I'm right on target. One of the issues that I found interesting as that debate was unfolding is some people wanted to allege that it was a partisan matter, but even the Houston Chronicle came out and said, no, guys, this is not partisan. It's actually important that we consider the condition of Texas's open government laws.
Yeah, the open government law means that you ought to be able to see whatever a politician is doing. What do they got to hide? Are they doing something nefarious? And if you got nothing to hide, then we ought to have a video camera in your office showing us what you're doing. We're paying you, and we need to be able to know what you're doing. As an employer out here of several hundred people, I have a right to know what they're doing, and they see me. I'm at the front all day. I got nothing to hide. So why can't our wonderful government officials be held to the same standard? They're getting paid. They work 40 hours a week. They knock down the door at 5 o'clock to go home. Why can't when was the last time they had to make payroll or work overtime? Never.
I think that's exactly right, Mac. One of the concerns I have is that in the absence of transparency, you can't have accountability. And I wonder if you share that concern.
Well, of course. I mean, if I can do whatever I want, then I have no accountability to anybody. It's kind of like the big U.S. federal government. They have a $80 trillion debt. There's no accountability to anything. So we're going to take money and screw off a couple million here. It's like in Houston, we've got the metro rail everywhere. Wherever it goes comes massive crime. You think that after a while the light would go on to our geniuses at Metro and say, maybe Metro isn't working after all. But no, we got to build more Metro, spend more money on buses, and pay more consulting fees. In my next life, I'll be a government consultant, and I'll get rich, and I'll do it under the table.
Mac, one of the things that strikes me about today's environment is public trust is an absolute low, basically across all of our institutions. And I got to wonder if that's a consequence of the lack of transparency that we see from our local, our federal, state, and local elected officials. Do you think that's the case, that there's a connection between very low public trust and an erosion in government transparency?
Of course, there's a connection there between low government trust and transparency. You know, Ronald Reagan said, what, 40 years ago? The biggest lie in American history is, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. You know, of course, there's the number one job of government, I think, is to keep the citizens safe. Are we safer in Houston or Austin or Dallas or San Antonio or Singapore? Which one? I get these customers walking here all the time. They're expats. They moved here back from Singapore. I said, where would you rather live, in Texas or in Singapore? Singapore all day long. Why? Because it's safe, safe, and safe. That's the number one job of government, and they have failed at that miserably.
Yeah, I think that's right on target. Mac, last question, and I promise to let you go. When you look at where we're going as both a state and a nation, you know, are you optimistic or pessimistic about the possibility of moving in a better direction? Do you think it's possible to get to a better place?
You know, we're an out of control train heading to the 1,000-foot canyon and diving into it. But I think there's a way to turn it around, and it gets turned around by both Democrats and Republicans demanding government transparency and kicking these bums out, and all the entrenched bureaucrats have been there for 40 years. They got to go too. So they're entrenched in those jobs, and all they want to do is continue their fiefdom. The fiefdom needs to get thrown out. They need to go earn a paycheck. And another thing that I'm terribly concerned with is paying people in this country not to work. I believe that work is life's greatest therapy. I believe work brings purpose and meaning to life. And you pay people not to work, you're taking away the greatest joy in living from them, which is joy of work. And I think it's criminal what we're doing to so many people.
I think you're right on target. We got to get back to a place where government recognizes that it's the servant and the people are the master. And until we get back to that point, we're going to continue to, I think, trend downward. So, Mac, thank you so very much for your time. And I hope that we continue to move in a better direction.
Shine a light on it, right?
Shine a light on it.